So we've all seen them. Those viral internet gym videos that make us laugh hysterically and then secretly hope we never become one of them. Have you ever wondered what exactly they're trying to achieve? Well, let me tell you their secret. Nothing. Internet fame? Probably. But as far as results, nada. Because the single most important aspect to building a muscle is the mind-muscle connection. Focusing on the movement and the muscle in which you're working, being intentional with your pace and your resistance. And what's great about this concept is it can be carried over into other areas of your life, improving it as well. Now, I know you may be curious how the mind-muscle connection can improve your life, so let me tell you what it did for me. So my life prior to 2020 was anything but a success story. I was born to parents addicted to drugs who were in and out of the county jail or federal penitentiary. Most of my memories with my parents include things like walking into a store, looking around, seeing one of my parents pick up a sibling as if it was a loving and caring gesture. But really what they were doing was hiding the paraphernalia we were about to walk out of the store with without paying for first. I remember many nights where we sat on our apartment floor playing our video games with the volume down as low as it would go. So we could still hear the police scanner, but we could also hear when the siren stopped because we were running and hiding from the police. These memories ultimately shaped the way I viewed the world and myself. They instilled belief systems deep inside of me that is taking years to unravel. Beliefs that told me that I was not loved, that I was defective, something had to be wrong with me. Because if my parents didn't love and want me, then who would? And the worst of all, I was destined to be on the same path as them. Did you know that studies show that children who are born to drug-addicted homes are more likely and more quickly addicted to drugs than those of their peers who come from homes without substance abuse? They are 3 times more likely to suffer from physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. They are 4 times more likely to suffer from neglect. Research also shows that these traumatic experiences may also contribute to a variety of psychological disorders. Therefore, these children are more likely to repeat these behaviors, metastasizing into multi-generational patterns. Society doesn't expect a lot from children who come from broken homes, and few, rarely, rise above those expectations. Bodybuilding for me was kind of like a good man. He showed up when I wasn't looking for anything serious. He made me feel special. He stuck with me through the good and the bad, and then stayed for the long haul. So when I was approached about competing, I took on the challenge almost immediately. I had recently gone from being a stay-at-home mom to a single mom of 2 girls working 3 jobs. I knew something had to change, and the time was now. And at this stage in my life, any kind of change would have been a refreshing one. My coach encouraged me not to limit myself to what I thought was possible, but what would be most rewarding. And that resonated with me because up until this point, I didn't have any goals in life except to not end up like my parents. So when he asked me, "What is your goal?" I responded without hesitation. I want to win Nashville Fit Show. Little did I know that I had just signed up for a lifelong journey that would ultimately redefine who I was. Now, I didn't actually think I could win, but I thought if I could place, then I would maybe fit in somewhere, belong somewhere a little bit better than where I was. It would be the reassurance I needed to know that I was capable, that I could decide where I wanted my life to go, and then I would do whatever it took to get there. I grew up believing that life had dealt me this hand of cards that I was required to play. But this made me think, what if? What if I could change the cards altogether? I had been going to the gym for about a year, but I wasn't really training with purpose. I was just going through the motions. So my coach and I devised a plan that would develop over the next 20 weeks, and we got to work. I had a very specific nutrition plan that consisted of the exact same 6 meals every day. I'd go to the gym 6 days a week for resistance training to build muscle and cardio to metabolize that food. I also frequently attended posing clinics that would help me with my stage presence, which I later learned is synonymous with confidence, and at the time I had very little of. So it was somewhere around 12 weeks in that those 20 weeks turned to 42 weeks due to a very small thing we now refer to as a global pandemic. As if contest prep isn't hard enough, let's throw in a virus spreading like wildfire across the world with no real knowledge on how to deal with it. Fear caused people to panic. Food shortages with a limit on what you could buy became a normal occurrence. And I don't know if you know a lot about bodybuilders, but we eat a lot of chicken and rice. And it was pretty difficult being a bodybuilder in a world where 1 pack of chicken was your limit. Gyms were also shut down for months at a time, so bodybuilding shows were either postponed or indefinitely canceled. COVID was essentially Ronnie Coleman throwing a couple extra plates on the bar saying, "Lightweight, baby." Here, I had a choice. I could throw in the towel when things got tough, like I typically did, or I could forge forward and see what happened. It is here I realized that my life, which had often been described as unsteady with an unknown future, had best prepared me for a situation like this. So COVID and my upbringing were one and the same. They were the resistance I needed to create change or to build my life muscles. All I really had to do was find my focus. I had to get real about why I was doing this. I already had a goal and a plan. But I didn't really get serious about bodybuilding until I had a why worth working for. When I first started, I needed a distraction. But to finish, I was going to need a purpose. And I found that purpose with my girls. Here I had 2 beautiful, amazing girls watching everything I was doing. They saw me juggling my daily life with this new goal. They saw me freaking killing it on my good days. And then they saw me struggle and persevere through the days that all I wanted to do was quit. So ultimately what I was trying to do was show them that it doesn't matter where you start, where you come from. If you set a goal, work tirelessly to get there, the only thing that matters is where you end up. Now in bodybuilding, to measure our progress, we keep a daily spreadsheet. And on the spreadsheet, we record different metrics. Body weight is one of them, not to obtain a certain number, but to monitor day-to-day changes. So there are things like excessive sodium or carbohydrates in your diet that can cause fluid retention and cause that number to rise or fall. So it's important for us to measure our macronutrients, our sodium, and our water intake. Another metric we use is sleep. Because it's a common misconception that muscle is built in the gym. Muscle is actually torn down in the gym. It grows and recovers as we sleep. So if you are awake for 16 hours and your body is under stress, it requires 8 hours of sleep to properly recover. Any other out of the ordinary changes are recorded here as well, so we can monitor what may have caused those changes. Monitoring these things made me realize I needed to monitor other things in my life, like how certain people or situations made me feel, how I reacted to those people and situations. I started monitoring my finances so I would know whether or not I had enough money coming in and going out to continue to do what I needed to do and what I wanted to do. And then finally, what do you do when your plan doesn't work? If your plan's not working, and likely it won't always, you have to be willing to change your plan, but not your goal. So when my body would stall and there would be no more changes, my coach and I would intentionally manipulate my diet, my exercise, and my rest, just to kickstart some new changes. Now, one of the most common questions you get when it's known that you're doing something like a bodybuilding show is, are you nervous? Because asking that question in general eases the nerves right up. Like any time you get on stage, of course, there are going to be nerves, but I picked up a tool along the way that I decided to use called transformational vocabulary. So anytime I would be asked, are you nervous? I would kindly smile and say, of course not, I'm excited. Because excited and nervous are the same feeling, but the meaning you attach to it determines the emotion that you feel. So on October 17th, 2020, my heels hit the stage for the first time. And as they guided me to center stage and I hit my posing routine, I forgot how hard it was. I forgot everything it took to get there, and I was excited and honored to be on the stage with all the athletes that night. I ended up taking home 3rd, 5th, and 4th placings. I had hit my goal. There was an additional award given that night to a woman who had overcame or carried on despite her circumstances and beat the odds. And as my 2 wives sat in the crowd cheering me on that night, they also watched me become the first ever recipient of the Overcomer Award. Thank you. I had now exceeded my goals. There's a lot that goes into a bodybuilding competition, but the most important part of the experience is who you become in the process. Since first stepping on stage, I have continually carried that mind-muscle connection over into the rest of my life and consistently worked to build my life muscles. I work daily to dissolve those terrible belief systems to create empowering ones. So I am no longer unloved, but I am loved by the Almighty. I am not defective. I am a work in progress. And my parents, they did love and want me. They just didn't have the resources to do so at the time. I have tools in place that help me communicate more effectively and manage my emotions in a healthier way. My relationships have improved to the point that I get to marry that bodybuilder that came into my life when I wasn't looking for anything serious. My finances have improved to the point where my daughters get to begin life in a more successful place. I've traded in multiple jobs for a career that has meaning and purpose. I've been gifted the opportunity to share my story in hopes to reach someone who may have started life on a similar path, or maybe they stumbled along the way, to let them know that you are not required to play those cards that life dealt you. You can fold on those babies at any time and pick up an entire new hand. I am no longer a debt to society, but I am a return on investment. My focus shifted from everything that had gone wrong in life to all the possibilities of what could go right. Simon Sinek said, "Our struggles are the short-term steps we must take for long-term success." Now, bodybuilding is often labeled a selfish sport, and although it does take a lot of time and dedication, I would argue that I am less selfish in who I show up as for myself, my family, and my community. Bodybuilding is the greatest metaphor for life. The greatest resistance creates the greatest change. You see growth in areas that you intentionally focus on. Your muscles grow when they have reached failure, and you continue to push through. So I ask you to take a moment today and evaluate your life's physique. Where is your weakest muscle? Is it your emotions? Is it your physical body? Is it your relationships, your career, your finances, your spirituality, or your contribution to society? Where could you use intentional focus, that mind-muscle connection? Discover what it is and begin to work on it. And as that muscle grows, pay attention to everything that's going on around you, because everything connected to that muscle will begin to improve as well. Now, Robert Fritz said, "If you limit your dreams to what you think is possible or reasonable, you disconnect from what you truly want, and all that's left is compromise." So decide, what do you want? Not what's easiest or most convenient, but what you truly want. Begin to take consistent, intentional action toward that goal. Measure what's working and what's not working. Always be willing to change the plan and unwilling to change your goal. Because life is a journey. It is not a destination. So begin to embrace that journey and build that life physique you were created for. And remember, if you are not tracking, you are guessing. And nobody guesses their way to a great body or a great life. Thank you.